3 years old, we are, I guess, expecting to see an update soon-ish. If they do release a new Switchblade, I would like to see, I guess, a couple of changes. First thing would be to modernize the geometry just a touch, a little bit slacker so that it is more stable on the higher speeds and steeper trails, a steeper C-tube angle so that it is just a bit easier to climb, and then a longer reach to accommodate for that.
The big question today is, did Pivot nail it this time? We called the last Switchblade an almost perfect trail bike, and it seems like they listened to the people. Welcome back everyone. We were super excited to get a chance to ride the new 2024 Switchblade, even if it was just for one evening. Our review on the old version has been really popular. This bike seems to have a bit of a cult following. And to be honest, every time I go riding, I wish my bike rode a little bit more like a Pivot Switchblade. Not in every way though. Unless this minor update is all it needed. So we figured why not go in blind. Here's James's first run on the bike and his honest impressions.
Alright, very first lap on the new Switchblade. It's just as nippy when it comes to pedaling as I remember on the last one. God, it's nice being on a light bike again. A couple double drop coming up. Alright, they handled that pretty well. Looks like the rain hasn't even managed to touch some of the parts in this forest. Alright. I think I can notice that the chainstay's maybe a bit longer than the last model. It must be those adjustable chainstays. Bike's still nice and quiet. I think the updated head angle was the perfect choice for this bike. The frame is just so light and stiff and predictable. Oh, it's so sketchy in this wet. Oh man, yeah, just as poppy as I remember. It catches you out.
It only took a few pedal strokes for me to be completely reminded of how well these bikes ride. The initial climb up to the first trail was very reminiscent of the Blue V2 that we reviewed last year. The extra light, stiff, snappy frame is such a pleasure to climb, which of course the famous DW link helps out a lot with. Pivot has only made minimal changes to create this new version. I wouldn't exactly call it all new like it says in the advertising. However, I did notice these small changes made a big impact on the ride characteristics once the bike started pointing downhill. Most notably, the slacker 65.2 degree head tube angle and the more progressive linkage in the rear. I'll get to that in a bit. The very first thing I thought I noticed was the chainstay length. It seemed a little bit longer, especially just once we started riding the first few corners, and Finn noticed this as well. But after reviewing the numbers on paper, we realised it had only increased by a whole 1mm to 432 on this size large. So either we are geo-geniuses who are extremely in touch with our rear ends, or we were extremely tired from working our day jobs before this and our cornering skills had just gone completely out the window. But you know, I like to think it's more of the geo-geniuses thing. On the second lap on this particular shoot of our test trail, I really noticed the more aggressive geo and the more progressive suspension design.
Yeah, I'm good. How is that the first time we've ever done that?
Holy shit. I definitely noticed the bike's probably two main changes and upgrades from the last model, like the slacker head angle and the more progressive linkage in the back, like just plowing through those little bits there. Like, yeah, it's definitely not the slackest head angle still, but huge improvement over last year's one. And like the way that it handled the roots with the just this like longer link, making it a little bit more progressive. It was just like through that mid-stroke I could just push through those like tiny little lily pad type root sections, and it was like, yeah, big improvements for descending.
Which is like a big thing we sort of talked about in the review of the last Switchblade,
Yeah,
eh? Is that like it could be a little bit more capable in that sort of situation?
And it's cool because like one of the main things I was saying is slack isn't always better for the front, and I liked some aspects of the steeper head angle, and this so far seems to keep those while still being a bit better in that real techie stuff. So that's awesome. Yeah,
good to hear.
Very.
Let's get moving.
Although this isn't an all-new design like I hoped it might have been, it's nice to see that Pivot isn't being a bike industry sheep following the high pivot herd like a lot of other brands are doing, especially for a mid-travel trail bike like this one.
Climbing on this does feel really good. It's a pretty good position for a trail bike. It's nice having that slightly steeper seat tube compared to the last one. I still find, however, that it could be a bit steeper. Like the reach on this bike is great for me. It's 480mm reach, which is on the larger side, but it feels nice and composed and stable when I'm descending. But because of that slacker seat tube, the top tube length just makes it that little bit bigger, and I just, in the seated position, feel like I'm having to reach out a bit more. So for me, I think I would struggle picking which size of this, whether it would be the medium or the large, that I go for.
When it came to my turn on the Switchblade, the rain came, heavy and fast. What were dry-ish, grippy trails became nightmarishly slick.
It's bloody a bit wet, mate. Damn.
And I am particularly average at riding in the wet, so it was going to be very hard to form a first impression. However, straight away it was evident that the chaotic nature of this bike that I love so much was still present. Maybe tamed slightly by the slacker head tube and more capable suspension. Well, my first impressions are going to be a little bit slipperier than James's. I got a bit stitched up with the weather. Whoa! Whoa, the bike feels just as ridiculously poppy as it used to. That is insane. It feels much better size for me now. Oh my God. Can't see anything. My first lap was cautious, for good reason. I could barely see anything with all the water blasting into my eye holes. I was very nervous to drop into the bottom of log drop, which is just a straight run of slick roots for the first little bit. But this bike smashed it. There was a lot of traction on hand. I felt very comfortable, which boosted my confidence for the second section. Big mistake. These roots are going to be absolutely disgusting in these conditions, so let's see what the Switchblade can do. Whoa. Oh my God, this is going to suck. Oh my God, that was... Oh, I hate this place in the wet. I hate it so much. Nope. I'm calling it there. With this being a minor update, the bike looks essentially the same. We do like the new colorways though, especially this black and not very much green. It's interesting to see they've removed the graphics from the top tube, which really helps with a slick, understated look. We really like this. This bike still has an incredibly natural riding position. You just feel comfortable straight away. That, along with its ability to float with zero effort, just makes it feel like how you want a bike to feel. That's not to say it won't get outgunned though. I'm not sure if this is what I would want in a bike park with high-speed berms and jumps. It's definitely more comfortable taking side hits on the trail and gapping over things, making even the most mild trail fun. Climbing is still a standout characteristic of this bike. It will never cease to amaze me how zippy it feels. I'm glad that this update hasn't removed that feeling, only improved on it with the slightly steeper seat tube angle. Great job, Pivot. This was obviously an extremely limited amount of time to come to grips with these changes. We can't wait to get the bike back soon for a proper in-depth review, and just to ride it, because this thing is still one of the most fun bikes on the market. Nothing has changed there. Oh.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe for that big old review coming soon. Leave a comment down below on what your thoughts are about this bike. Catch you next time.